What a great layup.
Yep. Okay.
Don't let us hang around this town and let what others say come true. We're just good for nothing. They all figure a boy should roll up his jiffy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another and a special episode of Darker Than Blue. Hey, y'all, how you doing? I am your host, Jackie Lukman, and you are joining Darker Than Blue. That's right. This is the show where we talk about politics for the people who you just heard Brother Curtis Mayfield say are darker than blue. That's me and you. Y'all, thank you so much for joining this Friday evening, this World Cup Friday, or, after the start of the World Cup, or as we're calling it, the Genocide Cup, here in being hosted by the United States. And as you can see, for those of us who are watching on Black Liberation Media, on Facebook, on YouTube, for those of you who are watching on Lukman Nation's Patreon, you see that I have a guest in studio. And for those of you who are listening, let me introduce our special guest. Joining me here on Darker Than Blue is our good comrade, Claudia Oscoso Mobrian. God. O'Brien Moscoso. It's been a busy 2 days, and it's the hormones, the heat, and the medication. That's what I'm blaming that for. What's going on, Comrade Clow? How are you?
Peace, comrade. I'm good. I'm good. Took a little walk just now. It's nice to, I'm staying in Jersey these days, but normally I'm in Flatbush. So just getting to see a little bit more of like nature is like, oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. With everything going on in the world, it's nice to see a little bit of, and to be in a little bit of a calm situation. That's kind of why I love where I live so much, because it is the middle of the city and it's really nice, but it's also surrounded by woods and nature. And there's a stream back here and there are critters all over the place, and it's wonderful and I love it. And I can unwind a little bit in this little slice of nature. But Clau, you have been in some of the most tense and active, and that's an understatement, active cities and regions in the global South the past few months and really years, because you are from Peru. Peru, we always joke, you always joke, Peru by way of New York City.
Yeah.
But you have been spending a lot of time in Bolivia recently. And of course, for those of you, you dear listeners and you dear viewers, what is going on in Bolivia right now is, as we have been talking about a little bit, the example of when we're talking about a general strike, that's what we mean. However, Clau is here to explain to us why this thing didn't just happen. The level of organizing we are seeing in Bolivia, the general strike that has been going on for how long now?
I think today is the 42nd or 43rd day, I want to say. We're entering the, or maybe just about to end the 5th week now. And yeah, this has been, at the point right now, is 6 million in a country of 12 million.
Half the population is in the streets in Bolivia,
either blockading, honoring and practicing the strike itself. And in Bolivia, there's a lot of like informal workers, street vendors, but also just like, small business owners. So for them to be closed for 42 days is like a sacrifice, like a material sacrifice, right? But like, they are not, it is solely one demand, and that's the resignation of US-backed, Spaniard-born Rodrigo Paz. You can't make this shit up. It's crazy.
So let's talk about, now that you've mentioned Rodrigo Paz, let's talk about his role in how Bolivia got to a general strike that is more than a month, going on for more than a month now, with half the population carrying out this general strike for like literally half the population. This is really funny. Half the population of Bolivia is in the streets saying, "Get out."
Yeah.
To the president.
And the other half, support that, or like,
right.
It's like massive, across the board. To say that some of the like unions, maybe what we might consider like Chamber of Commerce here, small business owners, but still, right, initially that were against the strike have now joined the strike.
Wow.
It's very much across the board, right? One of the main unions that is really leading the Central Obrera Boliviana, or the Central, or rather the Bolivian Workers Center. It's one of the oldest and most important unions of Bolivia, has led many, people's struggles and up to and including the formation of the MAS and being involved, right? But yeah, so it's been 42 plus days at this point. It's multiple things, but how they understand it very much so is a defense of the homeland and a defense of their natural resources, particularly the lithium. Right. So they very much understand what this is, right? What this government is, but and it's U.S. backing, right? They're also getting like military weapons sent in from Milei's government in Argentina. That's actually what I forget exactly when this was, but a couple of weeks ago, people in Cochabamba took over I think it was the Chimore airport, because that's where some of the weapons were coming in from Bolivia, right? That wasn't really picked up much in the news that was the reason why they were taking over that airport. It wasn't just a random takeover, right? Like,
they didn't. You mean to tell me they didn't wake up one day and then the people of Bolivia were like, you know what? We really hate airplanes. Yeah. Let's just go to this airport and shut all these airplanes down. Right. We hate airplanes. Exactly. It was actually a reason.
There was a reason behind it. Similar to in Peru, the 2022 coup, and then the Juliaca massacre, January 9, 2023, people took over the airport because that's where the weapons were coming in from. Right? There was a reason why people took over. It wasn't just that they're, these, indios salvajes, savage Indians, taking over, public infrastructure, but that's like financed heavily by, USAID, Southcom, like they're very explicit about who is there and why, right? But so the people understand that is what their struggle is, right? And I mean, Evo has said it too, right? Like, Evo or no Evo, like the people are struggling. Like, you are not stopping this, right? Like, this isn't about me. Right. This is about this us being a struggle for like their land, for their resources, for dignity, right? I think since the 6 months of the Rodrigo Paz government, but really before that, right? There's been a resurgence of, right-wing, like, xenophobia against indigenous people who make up the majority of the Bolivian country. So it's crazy to be like, just, straight up calling indios salvajes, right? Savage Indians, like, wow. As if there's no reason for this, in their words, like, Vende Patria, sellout president that's like signing away the rights to the lithium to Tesla, to the US, Canadian mining companies, like the whole gamut. During the campaign, he said he was not going to take IMF loans. Now he's signing over IMF that like loans, right? But which includes structural adjustment programs, right? Cutting pensions. So like part of what really the big, sort of what happened that sparked this general strike was the oil subsidies, gas subsidies rather, being cut. And can't do that. That's a big no-no.
Well, explain to people who don't understand, because I think those of us, Cloud, who live in the metropole of this empire, because what we don't like to consider that the United States is an empire, that it has colonies, modern day neo-colonies, if you will. And we are certainly domestically colonized, but I think we're also very spoiled. We're very spoiled in that we don't understand why people in other countries rise up and take to the streets when things like fuel subsidies are threatened. Explain why that seems to be, that was certainly the issue in Bolivia, but why that is always, it seems to be one of the touch points for people's movement. Haiti, why Venezuela? What's the big deal with fuel subsidies?
Because, well, for many reasons, right? But it really, like, that's a big red line in terms of just the cost of living across the board is going to go up, right? So it's an attack on your living conditions, right? And the people understand it to be a material, right? Or a threat to their material stability in quotes, right? But so that, to me, I think is such a touch point in so many different places across the global south. And I think, you really see the masses of the people rise up when it's the fuel subsidy that is being, threatened. But he's, like I said before, he signed IMF contracts when he said he campaigned on that he wasn't. One of the first things he did was free the former dictator Junior Áñez and the coup plotters, Fernando Camacho being one of them, right? These are coup plotters that were responsible for the Sencata and Sacaba massacre in Bolivia in 2019 and 2020. And, during the Arce government, right, so the coup happens in 2020 or 2019. 2020, the people have they take down the coup government in a year and are able to bring back elections, right? And Evo is not allowed to run, controversy, but picks a successor, right? And that's where Luis Arce comes in, who had previously been his minister of finance minister. Right. But and actually came out this week, but my second part to the Evo Morales interview I did for Black Agenda Report, he talks a little bit more about Lucho. That's like Luis Arce's nickname. He talks a little bit more about Lucho and where that where he comes from, where he came from, and just being kind of honest and being like, we made a mistake. And this is sort of, but I was saying it earlier, that I think there were a lot of, I guess maybe betrayals that happened within the MAS in 2019, 2020, and then really since. So much so that, this election that Rodrigo Paz won on, I think in large part was because Evo was banned from running, right? His party, newly sort of formed party Evo Pueblo, previously had been the MAS, movement towards socialism, now having been sort of stolen by mestizo European elites in the capital, like Arce, right? Like an Eduardo del Castillo, etc. Who was the candidate for MAS that ran, that didn't even get 2% of the vote, right? Where previously they had gotten over 50% when Evo would run.
Right.
So, really just, and I write about this, I wrote about it when the second, I think it was a second election or second round, that was an intentional splitting of the MAS.
Oh,
that
wow.
was an intentional fracture.
So it was an internal coup.
It was an internal coup, and the Bolivians say it as such. They call it a second coup, right?
Oh, wow.
And that's often missed in Western media and journalism.
Well, really quickly, I do want to pick up on that for our listeners and our viewers. Clow has reported on the political controversy in Bolivia with Evo Morales in a series of interviews, 2 interviews in Black Agenda Report. So go to blackagendareport.com and look for Clow O'Brien Moscoso's 2 articles entitled Bolivia in Crisis, Part 1 and Part 2. And Part 2 is in conversation with Evo Morales that was just published in this week's Black Agenda Report. So please go to blackagendareport.com for more information on Clow's interviews with Evo Morales that explains the lead up to this general strike that is going on for, as Clow mentioned, 47 days now.
I think it's at 47 days.
40, more than a month. A month and a half almost.
Yeah.
Half the population of Bolivia is actively carrying out the general strike, blocking roads, blocking airport access. No one can get in or out of the major cities in Bolivia, and the one demand, the singular demand, is not just the resignation of the current president. They want him gone. They would like get out of the country.
Yeah, they're and not just him, right? That like his whole cabinet, all the people that supported that. It's just like nah.
So
you actually can get the F out. Caught myself.
Yes, because look, it's hard. It's because every day we watch the news, it's the first thing it's like a cuss word. The first thing in the morning. This is why I don't watch the news first thing in the morning anymore. So let's talk about the government's response. Because I don't want to present this idea for our viewers and listeners that, the government in Bolivia, this right-wing US-backed government in Bolivia is, suffering the people's discontent with grace and real democracy. How is the government responding now?
With brutal repression, as always. I think at least 10 have been killed, hundreds injured. The repression is heavy. I think at least 5 that we know of, I'm sure more, of the union leaders have been captured by paramilitary forces.
Oh gosh.
And they were able to get some video out, but they're being tortured, and there's horrendous repression. It's war out in La Paz, and other parts of Bolivia too, right, where their blockades are happening throughout the Panamericana. And I think this is really important for folks that are not from this part of the region to sort of maybe see it the way that the war with Iran is playing out, right? Like the Panamericana highway stretches from Panama down to Chile, right? Like Central and South America, right? All the countries that the Panamericana intersects understand that that is our Strait of Hormuz.
Okay.
If you blockade that, the government's you're bringing the government down to its knees.
Wow. And that is what the people have done.
And the people throughout, right?
Wow.
From Panama to Chile. Like, if your social movements are strong enough, can like understand, right? Like, and strategize around that. Like, you blockade the Panamericana, you just hold out. Just hold out to see how long they can hold out.
So is this people's action in Bolivia connected to the emerging people's actions in Chile that are happening that's now turning into a larger, there were smaller protests before, but now there is people's action that is growing larger and sustained in Chile. Is this connected?
I mean, certainly not that I know for sure, but I mean, the goal, especially, at least for Black Lions for Peace, the North-South Project for People-Centered Human Rights, like this is kind of what we, in a lot of ways, we see our role as being able to connect some of the, like, literally from north to south, right? Some of these social movements, and be like, y'all, like, we're looking at this map, and it seems like, these countries all are the lithium triangle. So maybe, like, y'all need to talk, and like, a lot of the Zone of Peace campaign is that work. We do have a lithium triangle working group that is composed of organizations in Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, and Puno, right? Like, and we study together. Well, that's the, like, working towards it, right? Like, always start off small, but, like, strategizing together, thinking through things, like, how do we link up some of our movements, because they are, very much connected. And I think, I've been saying this for a minute, like, for Peru, we understood the coup in 2022 to be about the lithium, but we weren't organized enough to do anything about it, right? Puno was, because they maintained that general strike for at least a year, maybe even longer. But the rest of Peru, like, yeah, there's a lot to be said about Peruvian politics. A big part of that is the anti-communism from the, internal armed struggle. But so it does, kind of remains to be seen, but I think that it is important to see that part. Oh, pardon, excuse me.
That's okay.
That part of the world, sort of, as they are so close to each other. Like, literally, you can walk from Puno right into the south, or the other part of Bolivia. I forget. It's not the Saladero. That's the other side. But anyway, like, literally, you can just, like a rock, throw a rock into the country.
Right. So it's physical proximity as well as cultural proximity, as well as political proximity.
Absolutely.
And all of this is connected, which is what, yes, we do say this in Black Alliance for Peace all of the time. It is all connected.
Yeah.
And our job is to make these connections. So with all of that going on there, and of course the issue of the lithium, that goes right back to Elon Musk, and it goes directly to it's seen that we can actually mention the name of a singular person who is not a politician but a capitalist, and the worst kind. He is a South African born fascist, literally the child of apartheid South African, the beneficiaries and the almost his family helped establish apartheid in South Africa. So it just, this man, when Comrade Sean Blackman called him years ago on By Any Means Necessary, everyone's favorite apartheid American, that is so accurate for Elon Musk.
Really funny.
but the fact that Bolivia is the target, and the countries connected to Bolivia through the Pan American highway, and a part of this lithium triangle. And we all remember Elon Musk tweeting after the 2020 coup, we coup who we want. When people pointed out, oh, you were behind this coup, huh? And Elon Musk's response, y'all, on Twitter, you can go look this up, to people pointing out, why did the United States bother with Ecuador? It was because of the lithium. And Elon Musk responds, when people realized that he was connected to this coup, his response was, well, we coup who we want. Elon Musk said that.
Deal with it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the deal with it. So for people who think that Elon and Trump really had a falling out earlier at the beginning of this administration, this regime, and that they stopped talking to each other, and they, made this big show of Trump sending Elon away, and if you all thought that these people actually fell out and they are not still all working together to steal from me, you, and everyone in this country and the world, I don't know. I got a bridge right out here in the woods to sell you, because I don't know how you cannot see what is continuing to go on, and understanding that there has never been a fracture or a breakup in this fascist coalition that these capitalists have made to steal the one mineral resource they need for all of their electric advancement, miraculous stuff that's supposed to revolutionize, I guess, automaking and consumer energy production. But seems to me they can't get to that material without coups and invasions and that kind of thing. So that's going on their cloud. The World Cup is happening here. And I know that seems like a hard pivot, right? It seems like they have nothing to do with each other. But why do they? Why do they have something to do with each other?
Well, I mean, it's so wild to me that, one, the U.S. doesn't even call it the right name. Right? Soccer is the slave's name. I think Robert Wilson has been like he's like coined that. And I'm like, that's so, you cooked with that, my G. That's so perfect. It is the slave name. It's football. What the USians know as football is really American rugby, right?
and we know nothing about rugby. It's a fantastic sport. But okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so aside from not using even the proper name, the World Cup is it's supposed to be like what unites, right, the world, right? Like outside of the US, what y'all call soccer, football, right, is literally the people's like game, right?
Yeah,
it is the love of the global south, the rest of the world. It's not even just the global south, like it's the rest of the world. And the World Cup sort of like it's supposed to bring the world together to play the beautiful game. And I mean, last World Cup that happened in Qatar, it was all about the human rights records, right? And then
the exploitation of the immigrant workers,
right? All of this, right? Which sure. And also
right,
European countries always get to have these things and no mention of or human rights records or whatever, right? The US in particular, the most violent empire known to humankind, currently in how many attacks and wars against how many peoples, right? Like Cuba, the war in Iran, right? The attacks on Venezuela. We just talked about Bolivia and Peru. ID, right?
Iran.
At this point, 200 people that have been killed at sea in the Caribbean, right? And the Pacific, right? It's, so on top of police brutality, and then ICE detention camps, right? Like, so it's a whole host of contradictions. But we're supposed to just be like, oh, it's chill, don't worry about it. At this point, like, I mean, even just specific to like the World Cup and football, they have banned a Somalian referee. I called this, by the way, years ago when it was announced that the U.S. was going to be one of the host countries for this World Cup, which, by the way, that has never been done before. Split up host countries.
Right.
But I think it was a deal with FIFA that, because there's so many visa restrictions with the U.S., that they would work with Mexico and Canada to then, whatever, have extra games.
But isn't that just FIFA going along with the criminal U.S.?
FIFA's another gang of corrupt people. So they're like, we see your, we see you, G.
Like genocide meets genocide.
Yeah, exactly. They're like,
game recognizes game.
Exactly. Like FIFA also allows, Israeli football teams from settlements, illegal settlements, right? Like, so I don't even know the number, in the hundreds, Palestinian football players that have been massacred or killed in this genocide, right? Like, so FIFA on its own has its own human rights abuses, right? And complicity, right? But so it's it's the height of hypocrisy and contradiction that the beautiful game be, hosted here.
Mm-hmm.
The final is set to happen at MetLife Stadium, 15 minutes away from a literal concentration camp in Delaney Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where there's currently a 100% labor strike, and I'm not exactly sure percentage, but hunger strike as well.
Mm-hmm.
Less so than the labor strike. 300 detainees, many from African nations.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether on this hemisphere, on the continent, throughout the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Africa is everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That are being held in horrific conditions, right? Given food that have maggots in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in retaliation to this labor and hunger strike, have been cut their visitation rights.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Last year, at the end of last year, when Delaney Hall was reopened under a multi-million dollar contract with ICE and Geo Group, the
Mm-hmm.
private detention
Mm-hmm.
center or company that runs this,
Mm-hmm.
a Haitian man was killed. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
killed by the state.
Yeah.
Right, like
Yeah.
he died at the hands of the state.
Mm-hmm.
At University Hospital, but
Yeah.
because of the
Mm-hmm.
conditions in Delaney. And like Haitians are one of many countries, one of many
Mm-hmm.
peoples that are banned.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
why we boycott the World Cup.
Exactly. So how can people join in? First of all, how do people find your work? How do people join in with this boycott? And how do people continue to support the movement and the people's struggle in Bolivia?
Real quick to run down, check out Black Agenda Report,
Mm-hmm.
Bar Wednesdays. Actually, today, Bar Radio Friday.
Oh.
I'm one of the guests talking about Delaney Hall and the
Mm-hmm.
connection there between, migration and the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And then Austin Cole talks about the boycott as
Mm-hmm.
well. So check out my work on Black Agenda Report.
Mm-hmm.
My socials, I think I'm Michi Sarchipapas on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and Claudia O86 on Twitter, or X, or whatever the hell it's called. Black Alliance for Peace,
Mm-hmm.
and the North-South Project, North-South People-Centered, Project for People-Centered Human Rights.
Uh-huh.
John Baraka loves his long names.
He does love his long names.
Yeah. So peoplecenteredhumanrights.com. Endorse the campaign, the Boycott the World Cup, Boycott the U.S. campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Become a member of the, another long name, but the network. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah. Ajamu is, anyway, he's a special guy.
Yep. None of us would be here doing this work if it weren't for him. So,
literally.
Thank you so much, Claudia O'Brien Moscoso. I had to do it right at the end here, for joining us and talking about the connections to the people's struggle and the month-and-a-half-long general strike that is not showing any signs of letting up, because that man is still in office in Bolivia.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and talking to us about this
I always love
today.
being here.
Thank you. And all right, it is a little bit past the 30-minute mark, and you know what that means, y'all. It is time for a WPFW station break. So, engineer extraordinaire, what do you have for the people today?
WPFW continues to celebrate our 50th year with another benefit concert at the Palisades Hub, Sunday, June 14th, from 4 till 6 p.m. You can enjoy live jazz music by Washington area-based artists while helping to keep jazz and justice on the air. Sets by Amy K. Warmett on piano and voice, plus saxophonist Elijah Jamal Balbed with his quartet and special guest vocalists. Tickets on Eventbrite via the link on our homepage, wpfwfm.org. WPFW, building a better world, one live performance at a time.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, for sticking with us. And thank you so much, Engineer Extraordinaire, for that fantastic announcement. Please take heed to all of the opportunities that you have to join in great activities here at WPFW, where we are changing the world one broadcast at a time. And I really feel like I am taking a bite out of whatever is going on in this world, everything terrible that's going on in this world, because this show is packed full of these conversations, because it's very hard to keep on top of and keep track of all this stuff by myself. And I do have to remember that I have comrades who can bring their expertise to this medium and help me deliver this information for you. So I am glad to be joined on the second half of this show by comrades Erica Ryan and Rafiki Morris. Erica Ryan is one of the national co-coordinators of the Black Alliance for Peace. Her particular specialty is membership and field operations. She is also editor of the journalistic outlet Hood Communist, a radical revolutionary African leftist commentary. And she is also the organizer of Liberation Through Reading, that puts books created by Africans for children in the hands of African children who need to see themselves in those books. And Rafiki Morris is a member of the Central Committee of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. He is also a member of the Coordinating Committee of the Black Alliance for Peace, as is Erica Ryan. I forgot about that. Erica Keynes, sorry about that. And Rafiki Morris is also a world-renowned cultural worker and artist. He never likes to say that, but I like to brag on him. Thank you for joining me, comrades, Erica and Rafiki.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Jackie. Good. Glad to be here.
Rafiki is like, there she goes with the with the stuff again. So, comrades, we just talked about everything that is going on in Bolivia as far as the general strike, a month and a half long. From what we can see, no end in sights. There are alleged negotiations, but we'll believe it when he's gone, because that is the one demand. But that's not the only place where people are rising up against what some may not see as the influence of imperialism, but the political context of the kinds of struggles that people are engaging in other countries that may not seem political, but really are. And in one of those countries is in Trinidad and Tobago. What is going on there, Erica, that is so familiar? It should sound and feel so familiar to so many of us here, and to a degree that it's almost criminal that we don't know about what has been going on.
Well, there's a plethora of situations happening in Trinidad and Tobago, really since the last year, I want to say, a little before the election of Alkamla Prasad Bessener. I always try to get that correct. But right before her election, the other political party, PNM, they had called for a state of emergency. So much of what was occurring around that time, as we have reported with countless work around Haiti, and then more broadly in the Caribbean, the use of violence and crime, and the sort of uptick in it to kind of further militarize the entire region. And so Trinidad and Tobago was also sort of involved in the language of violence and crime, while following, as many of the Caribbean nations, following the COVID pandemic. Many of them have had struggles. The gutting of social safety nets, lower wages, harder working conditions, etc., that lead to situations and conditions that would, as we know here in the U.S. in our own communities, that does perpetuate crime. And as opposed to solving for those issues, folks went to the polls, and I want to name the election of this current prime minister was very low. And across the Caribbean, we see very, very low numbers in the people who go out to vote. But much of her campaign was this crime-stopping campaign, the idea that the other party wasn't doing anything. And if it sounds familiar, it should, because she has completely borrowed the language of Donald Trump. If not, is is exhibiting so many aspects of his personality outside of the language. But yes, the tough on crime and et cetera, et cetera. And now that she has entered office for about a year now, I think we are at the year mark or close. Yeah, we're over a year. And we have seen the uptick in occupied communities, specifically the attempt to pass a zone of safety kind of area, which would occupy the predominantly African neighborhoods, the poorer neighborhoods in that area. And I'm just going to talk about what she has been doing domestically before we even talk about her international stuff, because she's been a busy woman. And so has her party and her cabinet. But at the top of the year, much of this has culminated to the death of Joshua Samaru by the police. He was shot well over 40 times in his car after a police chase with his partner and mother of his child also in the car. And since there has been no charges for the police, there has been an investigation, and about a month or so ago, it has been a couple weeks, the other passenger, Kaya Sealy, has been criminally charged with his murder. So no, none of the officers have been charged as of yet, but they have criminally charged her. She is in the U.S., and so this charge also involves expediting her. And so as I talk about the sort of borrowed language from Trump, we can also see that the tighter, closer ties with the U.S. has some implications around the overt occupation that's happening in Trinidad and Tobago, the extension of this state of emergency that has gone on for well over a year, and it has just recently been extended, and then also how they have dealt with or attempted to repress any outcry about what is occurring.
I'm really glad you gave that breakdown from the expansiveness of the adoption of, I guess the Donroe Doctrine by Kamala Prasad, and just want to make sure people understand we're not talking about the same, the Kamala Harris from this one. This is the Kamala, the president of Trinidad and Tobago, who really is a Trump acolyte, and I'm glad that you went from the wide lens to this one incident, because that's why we have our next guest. And we really appreciate Alyssa Phillip joining us to talk about what Erica just left off with, and that is that was the shooting death of one young man, and the charging of the survivor of the shooting with his death, I suppose. So, Alyssa, thank you for joining us. And can you come off mute and tell us a little bit about yourself and explain to us what happened, and what people are doing now in response to this horrible incident? Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, hi, Debbie.
All right. Thank you both for joining us and for being willing to come on.
Right, so the situation would have occurred on January the 20th, where Joshua was murdered by police and Kaya was paralyzed. She's partially paralyzed from the waist go down, so she has no movements below. She's currently using a wheelchair and gets in rehabilitation in United States, as she is a co-citizen because she has dual citizenship. So 4 months after the fact, on May the 21st, we would have gotten news that the officers, well, the DPP advised the officers to charge Kaya for manslaughter. So they charged her with 3 counts of shooting at the police and manslaughter of Joshua Samaru. So a lot of people was kind of getting it confused, and they were thinking that what the police was trying to imply is that she took the gun and actually shot him. But what they are actually saying is that she caused them to kill him because she was shooting at them. Sorry. So because she was shooting at them, as they claim, they had to then retaliate in self-defense, and that is why she is being charged for manslaughter and not murder. And I think this is really comical, very, unnecessary, very heartbreaking to say the least, because she was discharged from the hospital a few days after. She was under heavy police guard. They took her devices. Her lawyer had to step in for her to even see her mother because they were, preventing her from seeing her family. When she woke up, Kaya made a statement. When she woke up, the first thing she saw was a police officer just looking at her, looking over her. And then they allowed her to be discharged and to return home. They even escorted her home, actually. And then, she had to return to the hospital. By then, she would have went to a private facility because she had some surgeries to get done. And when she was finished with that, a few weeks later, she would have left the country to go to the United States to get physiotherapy, as Trinidad doesn't offer the type of assistance she needs. So, yeah, and then it's 4 months. It took 4 months to fabricate this cock and bull story to tell the nation that, well, she is now responsible, which I think is crazy, because if she was this Bonnie and Clyde shooter that they claiming for her to be, then why was she discharged? Why when she got discharged, why they didn't arrest her immediately if she was this big criminal? And then why did they allow her to leave the country? Like, you allowing a criminal to leave the country freely and then to come to try to make the country believe that that's what in fact took place. And then the most crazy part to me is that I believe a lot of them know how ridiculous it sounds. They know how stupid it sounds. They just don't care. They have the power to do whatever they want, and that's what they do. And they saying, well, we in charge and we write in the script, and however we say it happened, no matter if it sounds crazy to all you just have to take that. That's basically what they are saying to the entire nation, and a lot of us are upset. We would have started a 19 Bullets, 19 Protest campaign. My mom and I would have been arrested on May the 27th at our 16th protest. And we still continued. We had 2 protests after, and then we have the last one, the 19th one, coming up in the month of June. And it just goes to show the lengths that they would go to suppress the truth and to get out of a situation unscathed, because they aren't even trying to accept any accountability whatsoever. They're not even saying, well, they might try to get away on a lesser charge or something. They just want no charges, nothing at all. They don't want no kind of blame to be passed on them. They don't want no accountability whatsoever. And that is the most frightening and scary part of it. And I believe that the nation of Trinidad and Tobago don't even understand how serious this is, because they assume it's just about Joshua and Kaya. But this could be any one of us. This could happen to any one of us. You understand? Joshua and Kaya had no previous criminal records. And people just think this is okay, and a lot of them are making a lot of noise on social media and really upset on social media. But when it comes to actually showing up and coming out in numbers, our largest turnout for our protests was about 200 people, and we have a nation of over 1 million people. So how is that right? I think they have done a really great job in instilling fear in the population and instilling intimidation. A lot of people are very scared to speak out, and they also feel as though they would be wasting their times by speaking out, that nothing would ever come out of it and nothing would happen. But if they look at the history of Trinidad, a lot of the rights and laws we have now is because people spoke out. is because of people like Uriah Butler and McCandle Dagger is the reason why things are quote unquote better now. So how do we expect to care for the future generation if we choose to remain silent now?
And see, that is the question. Thank you so very much for your perfect and beautiful, impassioned, and just inspiring and enraging explanation of this situation. And the question you ended with is the question I want to put to Rafiki Morris. Because Rafiki, hearing this and hearing the mood in the country and thinking about what we did yesterday out in the streets and what then this struggle that we are all engaged in, what do you have to say about that question? What are we supposed to do? And what do we have? 4 or 5 minutes left. What do we do to protect ourselves from this problem? Because this isn't just a Trinidad Tobago problem. This isn't just a Kamala Prasad problem. This isn't just a President Paz problem. This isn't an Elon Musk problem. What is this, Rafiki? Tell us what this is.
This this is the fourth quarter of the NBA Finals. The 24-second clock is running down to 6, and you pass me the ball to hit a three-pointer to win the game. So that's a little pressure. Well, I lived in Trinidad for quite some time. And I was actually there in January and February of this year, right before this incident took place. And while I hear Elisa's frustration about the inability of the broad mass of people in Trinidad to come out and to be present and to show up, I kind of have a different perspective. I think that the work that you all are doing, putting them 200 people in the street, is the point of the spear. If people are living in fear, it's because nobody has showed them what can happen if you have the courage to stand up and to speak truth to power. So I'm very enthused by your standing up against this travesty of justice and the beginnings of organized resistance that is starting out now as resistance against police murder and police repression. But when you look deeper into that resistance, you find it's connected to resistance to capitalism, resistance to imperialism, resistance to America and its whole attempt to keep Trinidad as one of the countries in its backyard. I don't necessarily think Kamala Prasad Besesser is a Trump follower, because she's been a reactionary for a very, very, very long time. When they had the People's Partnership, I happened to be working with them, so I'm familiar with the UNC. I worked for many, many years with the NJAC, so I'm familiar with the Black Power movement in Trinidad and Tobago. And I've also had numerous experiences with the PNM. And quite frankly, for the first time in my many years of interacting with Trinidad, I actually see an alternative political force emerging out of the population. I met dozens and dozens of young people when I were there who are talking about, we can't continue to sit by and just support these two parties, neither of which is doing anything for the population. And that's a new phenomenon to me. People in Trinidad, as you have said, historically, do not go to the streets to protest because the police have free reign in Trinidad. I mean, and this is nothing new. States of emergency are nothing new. This new zone of where they're focusing on what they're calling hot spots, this is nothing new. All they have done is, instead of designating a particular area as a hot spot where the police can come in and do what they want, they've made it a moving hot spot so they can put it wherever they want, whenever they want, to oppress and exploit whoever they want and try to hold the society down. So I think that this is a new phase of struggle in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think it needs to lead to an increased cooperation, increased organization, particularly of the youth, but also, as Alisa said, there is a history of resistance in Trinidad. And those organizations and the people who came from those institutions are still in the country and have a host of experience in terms of dealing with the UNC, the PNM, and the various manifestations that might show up of this same phenomena. So what can be done is to work together, to coordinate your activity with others, to begin to study the connections between what's happening in Trinidad, what's happening in Haiti, what's happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, what's happening in New York City, and what's happening in Gaza, and what's happening in the Sudan. Because these are all manifestations of the same thing. Capitalism at this stage is like water. If you pour it in a bottle, it takes the shape of the bottle. If you pour it in a cup, it takes the shape of the cup. It's the same water, right? But it's in a different environment. And this is what's happening. Capitalism adjusts itself to each country, each situation, with the intention of extracting as much money and resources from that country as it can. And this is what has been happening in Trinidad and Tobago since independence. A lot of people think of Trinidad as another, what they call it, another part of New York City. In terms of their love of KFC and things American. So I think, and I've also heard coming out of this resistance calls for people in Trinidad and Tobago to begin to be more self-reliant, to consume the things that they produce instead of always consuming the things that America produces, which is really contributing money to an international war machine. So every time you buy something American in Trinidad, you help kill people in Gaza and you help finance bombs in the Sudan. So people have to come together with others who are like-minded. You have to work to politically educate the population. There's a lot of really smart people in Trinidad who have not been politically active in a public way. So now this resistance, which is always there, has to become conscious resistance, has to become collective resistance, that you are actually working together, planning how you want to address your problems, and then do it in a coordinated way. So I just want to say to you all, thank you so much. We appreciate your effort. We appreciate your courage. Don't allow anybody to talk you out of doing what your conscience says must be done, because you are providing a shining example of what it means to be a conscious human being. And that's what is needed in Trinidad.
Absolutely. And no, you're good. We are out of time. Different battles, same struggle all over the world. That's why we're here. And they just kicked us off WPFW, so because we were right at that time. That's why I was kind of pushing things to move a little faster, because I knew the engineer is like, all right, I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway, but I'm going to have to cut you off at some point.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So
well, I was watching the clock.
I appreciate that, and I really wanted to make sure that we took the time to really talk to you, Alyssa, and Alyssa's mom. What's your name?
I'm Camille Carrascaro.
Hello, how are
Hey,
you?
Camille.
And I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm
All right.
fantastic. I feel so much better
both.
after talking to you two, because I echo what Rafiki said, and I was gonna say to the both of you, what you all talk about, you are facing there in Trinidad and Tobago. This has been our struggle in the United States since we've been here. And we are still dealing with this issue of extrajudicial police killing. That's a polite phrase that we've come up with here in the United States for, killer cops, basically. Which are, the reason you don't see the Klan and the cops in one place is because they're the same people. So it's just a fancy way for saying the cops is the Klan, and that's, but this is the same struggle we have. So I think this is the way you all have responded to this incident is almost the way that most of us got into organizing here, wherever we are. There has always been a thing, almost one incident that propelled a lot of us to get involved in something. That's not always the case, but it usually is the case that it is usually an act of horrific injustice. And it might not be anybody we know, but usually it is. It's someone from the community that gets us involved in this organizing. So I don't want you, Alyssa, to be discouraged because you only got 200 girl, 200 people.
200?
Yeah,
Lord
we
have
be lucky.
mercy. I used to organize crowds in Trinidad. We rarely got 200. You do it real good. And when the police repress you, believe me, more people will come. As the police attack what you're doing, more people will realize what these police are doing. And one final difference between what you all are doing now and what has happened in the past is this time people all over the world know about it.
That's right.
It's not confined to Trinidad and Tobago. And people and Trinidadians all over the world are upset and concerned about what's happening. So what you are doing is having a huge impact in London, a huge impact in New York, a huge impact in DC, a huge impact in any place where there are large Trinidadian and Caribbean communities. So you're really setting the stage for the unity of these forces who have been, life is not easy. Life is hard. So people are struggling, but they're struggling in isolation from each other. What y'all are doing is bringing us closer together. And that's what we need. So keep it up. Don't be discouraged. Study, right? Study, read, try to understand what's underneath of what these police are doing, because the police are under orders, right? So that means there's somebody else who's calling the shots. And the people who are calling the shots, you may not know it, but they under orders too. Right? Your prime minister don't make no decision that she don't run past the State Department right here in Washington, D.C. And even the State Department and Donald Trump, they under orders too. Because all of them are working for this small group of people who just stole all this money, who's robbing all the land, who's exploiting all the people, and who's ripping everybody in the world off. So what you're doing is connected to all of these other people and all the crap they're doing. And the more you do it, the more you expose the people above them, and then that leads to exposure to people above them, and pretty soon everybody gonna know every damn thing, and it's gonna be a different world. So keep it up. Don't get discouraged.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Now I have two pictures of a map that you all provided. I would love for you to explain them.
I did want to just talk about that a bit, because even when you talk about 200 people showing up, since there has been no protest zones, and so I wanted to know if you wanted to talk a bit about that as it relates maybe to the state of emergency that's happening. Because, if we want to get more people out, what is the level of repression that has been happening?
Well, the no protest zones are very unconstitutional, if you ask me. But our Prime Minister, she doesn't care for whatever vessel she told the union leaders, and she told anyone who has a problem to meet her in the courts. She literally made a statement saying that on the day of our arrest, like a few hours later, they would have proposed these, no process zones, and it was ultimately to silence us, to get us to stop doing what we were doing. I remember when I was detained, one of the officers were trying to tell me that they could have done worse, and even the judge kind of a bail told me when I come out to shut up and to stay quiet, and I've done enough, and just leave it alone and forget about it, because the next time they will give me a PDO, that's a preventative detention order. That's a thing that they could implement or arrest you based on because of the SOE. So this is the reason why we have been in an SOE for the past year under the UNC government, because they keep renewing the SOE, starting it over, extending it, then letting it die down for a little while, then starting it again. And they are saying that it is to deal with gang activity, but they aren't even actually coming for the gang members. They come in for citizens who are disgruntled and upset about the fact that we are being taken advantage of. So they are being very strategic in what they are doing. Even the day after I would have gotten bail, we went out to a protest the day after, and we were supposed to go in front of the Forensic Science Center. That's the place that does all the ballistics and reports and evidence for matters like these. And I would have, in my last statement to the DPP, I would have mentioned forensics and the fact that there are currently approximately 17 police officers working in the Forensic Science Center who were only supposed to be there for a short period of time since about 6 years ago, dealing with a ballistic overload, which should have been done already. And I made the public aware of this on national television, and I feel as though every time I mention forensics or going to protest by forensics or talk about the director of forensic, Mr. Derek Sanka, they always try to do something to prevent it, which leads me to believe that the Forensic Science Center is compromised. And I would have, they blocked off the road. They told us that they're doing some investigations there that day. How convenient. The day we supposed to protest in front of there, and we ended up just protesting nearby, but it wasn't directly in front of the place that we had planned to. So what they are doing is very, sad, very, as I said, strategic, because they put the no protest zones at the areas where be so conniving and gaslighting the nation by saying, well, it's only 0.23% of the nation is no protest zone, so you all could protest anywhere else. And like I said, it would not send the same message if it's just some random place. So they know exactly what they are doing. They know that the people are upset about it. They know that we are aware of what they are doing. But frankly, they just don't care. And so the only thing that has given me a certain level of I would say peace of mind is knowing that what Mr. Rafiki would have said, that they don't operate on their own volition. I even made a statement to the Prime Minister saying that. I said, I don't hate you. I'm not obsessed with you. I know that you're not operating on your own volition. You are answering orders. And a lot of people didn't like that I said that, but I wasn't disrespectful. I was being truthful to what I believe is happening, So yeah, it's really crazy. The SOE was extended again for another 3 months. They would have passed it just about 2 days ago. They are saying that the law-abiding citizens okay with it. Again, gaslighting the nation into believing that the only people upset about the SOE is criminals, and it's because the criminals want to do whatever they want. So that is why they're upset about the SOE. But no, it's y'all are basically infringing. Not basically, y'all are infringing on our constitutional rights. And this is not okay. And a lot of the country, they either just don't want to believe it, or they just unaware of the realities of the state of corruption in our country.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a really good grip on a lot more than what we just see with our eyes. It looks like it looks and sounds to me like you know exactly what's going on.
That's right.
So
And all of Jackie, all of those people in Trinidad know how corrupt those governments are. They know. And the elders and the parents have decided that they're going to coexist with the party in power. They're trying to be peaceful and survive. And it's the youth who are saying, no, you all shouldn't tolerate this, and we ain't going to tolerate it. And your parents know, ask your mothers right there, she know about the poverty, about the poor schools, about the poor housing in Trinidad, about the importing of U.S. food in a place that can grow anything you might want to eat. The people know, but they've been pressed down for so long and so hard that the attitude is just to keep your head down and get by, and then in private talk a bunch of bacchanal and mama guy and bullshit to let off some steam. And it's the young people who are saying bacchanal and mama guy and bullshit's not enough. That we've got to stand up. And we don't have to take this. These are historical injustices you're fighting. This didn't just start with you. This has been going on since independence and before independence. It's part of the colonial project. And so everybody in Trinidad knows. They acting like they don't know. Like they got their head in the sand. But if you press them, and I don't care who it is, even the wealthy, the Syrians and the upper class, even they know that this is not the way a country is supposed to be run. There's only 1.5 million people. You have oil, you have liquefied natural gas, you have natural resources enough to raise the standard of living of everybody in Trinidad. The resources are there. But those resources are in the hands of a small group of people who are trying to and continue to enrich themselves And that's who's afraid of you. That's why they move in these zones of emergency from place to place. That's why they following you around trying to stop you all, because what you're doing threatens their ability to keep raping the country. So don't believe that these adults. I know a lot of them. Your mother even look familiar to me. They know, and so y'all gotta keep pushing, and they're not gonna let you be abused. They'll stand on the side right now, but as this thing intensifies, they're not gonna let you be abused. And even if them knucklehead Trinidadian men don't do nothing, the women of Trinidad are not gonna take this abuse. I'm telling you. The women of Trinidad don't like nobody putting their hands on their children. So just keep it up. Keep it up. Keep pushing. Don't worry. There's more people with you than you know. And you are really on the right track.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being willing to come on and talk to us. And thank you for everything that you're doing. Tell us how we can continue to support you, because we're going to continue to support you. But, we want to make sure we're supporting you in the way that you need. So what can we do that would be the most helpful to you?
Actually, we would have to ask for your experience in terms of we would keep the communication and ask for your experience in terms of how I know that networking in terms of the legal aspect, because as you said, Rafiki made a statement in terms that there are a lot of people backing us that we don't know. Up to today, I was traveling, and a young woman said to me as well, she said, you all keep up the good work. There are a lot of people backing you all that you don't know. And that is the thing, to get these people in some way, because there would even be policemen that would be backing us, but we don't know. Or even if we know, they cannot come to say to us, this is the situation, for fear of their jobs or for fear of their lives.
That's
so
right.
if we could actually have a networking that would be a safe zone in some way, where if we understand the legalistic aspect of how the law works and the judiciary, that they could feel safe, even if it's in a private way, where they would have to do an affidavit and probably not give the name for safety, whatever it is, to help the cause to go through in a legal way and make that stand, because they can't come out to march, but they are actually uncomfortable having certain superiors over them, because they know that the public does not want that. They know that the public is actually tense. So if they are a respectable police officer, they come out, they do their jobs. Hi, good morning, good evening. They can't get that brand, because their rogue elements that are around among them are actually zeroing in on how their reputation should really be. So if in some way in the legal aspect we don't know that experience in terms of reaching out to those who have a conscience and those who have a softer heart, I always say that, how you have to separate the sheep from the goat, because there are people who willing to help and willing to talk, but they have to believe in some way that their jobs will not be at stake, or that their lives will not be at stake. And sometimes that's the distance that we could only really go, because they of the self within the self have to know, hey, I am a police officer and I am reputable. I don't want this among me, because I could go to work one day and my colleagues could do something to me just to shut me up. This could go beyond just, I know, executing a civilian, and then the civilian, I could cover it up. This could actually come and take place within the organization, which it does. So if in any way, we could get that sort of networking and have the legal aspects of how it could be safe for others in terms of keeping anonymity or whatever it is, because we don't really have the experience, as a mommy and daughter team. And as you said, with conviction in her heart, God placed that, and she just went forth, and I just kept along her side. And we have so many people rooting for us, but that same thing you talk about, that safety aspect. So I think sometimes, like, maybe if within the law, as you told her to keep reading, keep becoming educated, where we could do stuff to fight them on that ground, because some of us are physically willing, but in terms of having the understanding of how quick we could move on a matter to actually stop those things, because the union actually came forward, because immediately, imagine we went out to protest on Wednesday, and by Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, the parliament, the UNC ministers are saying that there will be 15 protest zones. So immediately the unions did not like that, because they know, hey, y'all are going too far. As we do one thing, you're bringing something else to suppress us. And that in itself is a sign, So if we could understand the legal aspect, probably how it works in America, and how it could actually trickle down into Trinidad based on the constitution, based on this SOE formulation, the legalistic aspect, you say, take away that colonialism aspect and get how many lawyers on board, judges on board, to fight that, I don't know. But in terms of anything else, we just thank you for the exposure that we actually able to come on this interview. We're really and truly grateful for that. And we want to keep voicing and keep putting it out there, because media and putting it out there is what will actually keep bringing the pressure on. It will keep bringing the pressure on, and we can't stop that at all. So whatever experience you all have to lend to us, we would want it. And in terms of giving us advice, and for now is the legal aspect of how we could really get those on board who have the knowledge of how to fight it, and allowing them to have a safe, to feel safe in doing so.
Rafiki, I see you.
No, I was going to say, one, stay in touch through Erica. We are in touch with other forces inside of Trinidad who could be of assistance. I don't know if you all are connected or not, but we can make sure those connections take place. We're going to engage in certain kind of action that I don't really want to announce right now, but we will be bringing some kind of support to Trinidadians who are engaged in this struggle. And then this is the hard part. You might not like it, but fighting for your freedom is not legal. Right? It's not a legal thing. Slavery used to be legal. Colonialism used to be legal. Slave revolts were not legal. Liberation movements were not legal. So the law may be useful in terms of protecting individuals from persecution and things like that. But the law is not on the side of the people who are trying to change the world. Okay? So you can't expect. We just had a case here where the police shot some woman in her living room. And the law said that they didn't do anything wrong, according to the training that they had, right? So the law is not on our side, and it's not a quick fix type thing you're involved in. You shouldn't be trying to solve this by tomorrow, right? Take your time, start to think this thing through, connect with other people, take it step by step. You all seem to have a pretty good grasp on how when you do one thing, they do the next thing. And you're right, that shows your strength. They're trying to keep this thing from spreading. So you're right, but you got to keep in it, stay in the moment, understand who you up against. And your mother is right. I know some of them police, and some police, actually, the anti-gang squad that used to have down there saved my butt. Because I knew those individual police officers, and they knew what I was standing for, and they understood the situation. And they might not be able to help you, like you said, up front, out and open, but they can take a phone call. They can talk to their cousin who's your neighbor, or the friend of a friend of a friend. So, but you have to build those networks, and that takes time. So don't rush through this. Don't make emotional decisions, right? Make calculated decisions. Like you said, they being strategic. Well, now you got to be strategic, And I'm telling you, they ain't really good at this game, because all they depending on is the fact that they got guns and stuff. But in terms of actually thinking through the impact of this and how it's affecting the whole country and how other people are seeing it, they don't understand that. So if you think it out strategically, you can get ahead of them. You can actually predict what they're going to do next. You can say, if we do this, they're going to do that. In the US, during the civil rights movement, we knew that if we went out on the street, they was going to lock us up. But we also knew they only had 100 spaces in their jails. So when we sent 1,000 people to jail, they couldn't handle it. They couldn't deal with it. It was too much. They had no place to put them. They couldn't feed them. They couldn't do nothing. The jail became a place for resistance, right? So, and I'm not telling you to do anything in particular. I'm just saying, think this thing through and be strategic and plan it out and join up with other people. And we have some other people that we know in Trinidad that we'll try to make sure you get connected to. But, this is serious stuff, and you have to address it seriously. I'm going to stop there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all very much. I hope that what you have seen in this whole show tonight, from Cloud telling us about a month and a half long general strike in Bolivia, to the conversation with these two extremely brave and intelligent and strategic and committed sisters from Trinidad and Tobago, that this is organizing. There's nothing mystical about this. It is people getting tired of being sick and tired of being treated like crap by a system that they know is oppressing them, but they've got to figure out how to fight, who to fight, when to fight. This is organizing. Thanks for watching. Our luta continua, the struggle continues, but if we keep organizing, I promise, Victoria Acerta, victory is certain. Peace, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we off, Jackie? Thank you both for coming on